Good afternoon, all of you. Hello, Varun. Hi, Kashish. I hope all of you are well. Right, so let's begin with today's session, and we are going to discuss today NMAT, right? So, a lot of you must be considering taking NMAT. Okay, it is the second most appeared for exam after CAT, right? And we are going to focus on language skills today. Before this, Saral sir took a session where he talked about the overall pattern and what should your preparation strategy be, all those things, right? So, I'm going to focus today on language skills. Right. So just a second. Okay. Just give me a second. Huh? So I made some changes to the formatting because of which this table that I want to show you is not visible. So just give me a second. Okay, so I'm changing the formatting to usual. Okay, and now this table will be visible to you. Right. Happy Ganesh Chaturthi. It was yesterday, yes. So happy Ganesh Chaturthi, Varun. Hello, Ritika. Good afternoon. Hi, Tasabbar. Good afternoon. Right, so I hope now this table is visible to everybody. So exam pattern, this is what I wanted to show you. So if I talk about the NMAT exam pattern, then you can clearly see that although they say that it's not a speed-based exam, I think it is a speed-based exam. 36 questions have to be attempted in 28 minutes. So approximately you have 45 seconds per question approximately when it comes to verbal ability, when it comes to language skills as they like to call it, right? In total, there are three sections. I hope you're aware of this. See, knowing the exam pattern for any exam is very, very important. So you should know how many questions. Okay, you can see that equal weightage. In fact, they've stated it explicitly that they will give equal weightage to all the sections, right? And you can see that the score range appears to be weird. That's because the score is a scaled score. It is not your normal score wherein you have zero, wherein your score can go in negative also. No, this they perform a scaling on the score such that the minimum of the score is 12, right, and maximum is 120. Nobody knows how many how many marks one question carries because it varies. It's an adaptive test. In an adaptive test, the marks that one question carries varies according to its level of difficulty. So a difficult question fetches you more marks, that means a high score, whereas an easy question fetches you fewer marks. And how is it decided whether you should be given difficult questions or easy questions? Depending on your previous response. So if you've attempted, if the computer randomly threw question 1 at you, okay, and you attempted it correctly, the next question, question 2, will be of a higher difficulty level. Okay. If let's say you attempted this also correctly, then higher difficulty level, more marks. So you'll reach an upper range then, right? Then, if on the other hand you got your question number 3 incorrect, let's say, so now question number 4 will be of a lower difficulty level. Okay, so it pays off that you get your first few questions correct. It actually pays you off because if you get your first few questions correct, you reach that higher range of score. Okay, then the subsequent questions that are thrown at you once you get your first few questions correct, they will be of a higher difficulty level and consequently they'll carry high marks, right? So keep this in mind for an adaptive paper. For every section, the first few questions, they are crucial because if you attempt them correctly, you will automatically be in a higher position as compared to your peers who didn't get these correct. Hello, hi again, Abhilasha. Hi, Priya. Okay. So, I hope this is clear to you, the concept of an adaptive exam and how getting the first few questions correct actually pays off in an adaptive exam. Also, the fact that NMAT, although they say that it's not a speed-based test, but 45 seconds per question it actually makes it a speed-based test. We have to take care of our speed, right? You get your score immediately once you attempt the paper. Okay, you get your score immediately. Your scorecard is available to you within 48 hours. Otherwise, you get to know what you've scored immediately after the exam, right? Along with your sectional score. Now, an important point here is that you can choose the order of your sections, okay, the sequence of your sections. So what does it imply? I mean, why am I saying this? Because I think some of you already know this. This implies that you should prioritize your sections. So go for those sections first that happen to be your strength. So in case English is your strength, make the language skills your first section. This will vary for everybody. In case you think that LRDI is your strength, then again make that your first section, right? Logical reasoning, I mean. So because you have the luxury to choose the order or the sequence of the sections, make use of it to capitalize on your strengths, right? And if English language happens to be your strength, nothing like it, make it your first section, right? Okay. Now, what is the syllabus? That's the question. Students say, oh, we know these general things, we know the exam pattern, we know that it's adaptive, but tell us the syllabus of a particular section. So fortunately, this time on their website itself, NMAT has mentioned what they intend to ask in the language skills section. Of course, it's the broad areas that they've given to us. So this is what they've mentioned. Reading comprehension, they call it paraforming, but I think they mean parajumbles. You know, you have to form a coherent paragraph out of sentences. Error identification, so this is grammar. So RC, this is verbal logic as I like to call it. Prepositions, again grammar. Sentence completion. Sentence completion is actually a combination of both grammar and sometimes logic also, right? But I am currently putting it in grammar. It does demand your logic also at times, right? So secondary is logic. Analogies. Here, these are those questions. If A is to B, right? If a pen is to stationery, then you have to figure out other relationships, a relationship that is similar to this relationship. This is what I'm talking about when I say analogy. So this is purely vocabulary. Of course, a bit of your logic will be involved here also. You have to figure out the relationship between pen and stationery, right? So a bit of your logic is there here as well. So this time they have been pretty specific and they have given you the syllabus also. If we see, they've covered all the four broad areas: RCs, grammar, vocabulary, and logic. Okay, all four are covered here. Okay, slots are the same usually or different as we compare to the offline exam. So Varun, there are much fewer slots available for the home proctored based exam. Okay, they are available on limited dates only. They are fewer in number, right? So you'll have to choose accordingly. Once you've registered, right? So you'll be in a position to choose the slots, but you'll see that they'll not be available for all the dates. Okay, and my suggestion to you would be, why are you going for a home proctored exam unless you have any such urgency? Yes, tell me. Because in a home proctored exam, there's always this risk, no, that there will be no electricity, okay, or your internet is not working one fine day, right? Those risks are there. So I suggest to you that you take the offline exam if you can, right? Or by offline, I mean go to a computer-based center, okay, and take it there, right? Yes, yes, yes. Correct, Rehan. Correct. So I suggest that you take it from the exam center. That's my suggestion to you rather than taking it from your home. Okay. So this is the syllabus because you wanted to know what the important topics were. These are the important areas, I would say. They are not topics as such. Now, how do we prepare for them? Right? Again, I always tell you, you should be aware of your framework. What is expected of you? How much you need to score? You should know all these things before starting your preparation. Right? So, what do you think you need to score? But yes, before that, let me also address this concern. See, you can take it thrice. You can take the exam thrice, right? One is will be your first attempt, and then there can be two retakes after that. Two retakes, okay? One original attempt, let me call it that, and after that there can be two retakes. So your preparation, your month-wise language skill strategy will depend on when you choose to take the exam, right? So exam delivery is going to happen from October 10 to 19th December, right? 10th October to 19th December. So it's a broad window. You can choose to take it before CAT, you can choose to take it after CAT, you can choose to take it between IIFT and SNAP. A lot of permutations and combinations available to you. right? My suggestion, what my suggestion would be, take one before CAT and one after CAT. Okay, so you can take one attempt before CAT. If you score great in that, of course, there's no need for a reattempt, right? So if let's say you score a 240, right, in your first attempt, no need for a retake. Last year the cutoff was 232, I believe, right? So no need for a retake then. But if you, let's say you feel that okay, it's let's say a 210 or a 220, then you would want to have a retake, so you can take that one after CAT. That would be my suggestion to you, right? So if you want to keep it, yes, Rehan, analogy is the same as CET. You asked this. Now, if you want to keep it before CAT, if you want to take it as a warm up before CAT, then my suggestion to you will be that take it in the last days of October, or in the first few days of November. So October end or November beginning. That would be my suggestion. Right, it would ensure a healthy gap between CAT and NMAT, and it will also expose you to an exam situation in case you haven't taken any exam this year so far, right? So October end or November beginning can be your first attempt. So going by this, you have 2 months. So what I'll give you today is your 2 month strategy. Of course, this strategy will work for 3 months also, it will work for 4 months also, that's there. But yes, your first attempt can be at this stage, right? Some of you must have a query as to when to retake the exam, if at all they choose to retake it, right? After CAT is my suggestion. And what you can do is, see, last year IFT was on December 5, right? And this year SNAP dates are out. So the last SNAP slot is 23rd December. So why don't you take it between December 5 and December 23? So between December 5 and 23, you can consider taking it. Let's say 15, just 14 or 15 December. So just giving you various options that you have available and how you can plan your exams in the right manner. Okay, you can take one, you can have one take before CAT, one take after CAT, plan it between IFT and SNAP, keep a healthy gap between exams. So ensure this, and accordingly, I will suggest to you your preparation strategy also, right? So Kashish, see, I'll have to recheck this, but the last time I checked, no such specification was mentioned that NM Bangalore, NM Mumbai is accepting only the first attempt. Last year that was the case. Last year that was the case. I'll have to check if this year also they've specified any such thing. Last I checked, they hadn't. Okay. All right. Now coming to, so now that we've planned when we are going to take the exam, of course, now we can discuss the strategy for the exam, right? But as I said, before the strategy, I should know what do I need to score. Okay, so what is it that is expected of me? Now, when to take the exam is sorted. How many retakes available? So 2 retakes available. That is also sorted. Last year, as I told you, 232 was the cutoff. So that should be in your mind when planning your retake, right? And these were the language skills cutoffs. Okay, these were the specific language skills cutoffs last year. So 71 for NM Mumbai. Okay, this is out of 120. And for Bangalore, it was less. It was 65, and for Hyderabad, even less, 55. So 71, 65, 55. And our aim, of course, is to score above the cutoff, isn't it? Right? It is called cutoff for a reason. So our aim will be to, let's say, score an 80, right? Because see, if I am able to, let's say, score an 80 here, then for the other two sections, again, I'm left with, let's say, 80 each. In case I am the sort of a student, 160 remains. A score of 160 remains. So you can, in case you're a student who is good at all the sections, or who is let's say equally good at all the sections, that's what I mean to say. So 80, if you score in your language skills, that's a safe score, right? That's a safe score, and it will ensure that there's no undue pressure on your other sections, right? So this is what you need to keep in mind whenever you take mocks, whenever you prepare. This is the score that needs to be kept in mind. Yes, KJ accepts an NM score, right? NMAT score. CAT preparation tips help for GRE. The pattern of GRE is slightly different, Chinta. So, and besides in CAT, vocabulary is not asked, but in GRE, vocabulary is asked. So as far as the RC passages are concerned, there the tips will help you. To that extent, the tips will help you. Otherwise, GRE is a relatively different exam, I would say. It's more vocabulary intensive, right? So you would need to attend separate sessions for that, perhaps. Okay. Now, now I know the framework. Now I also know when I have to take the test. Okay. I also know what score is expected of me, right? With all of this in mind, now I can actually break down, I can go down, drill down to various areas and plan their prep accordingly, right? Any questions, any other questions that you have, please ask. Okay, so far everything is good. Hmm. So this time I was happy that they had actually stated it right away on their website so that it's not left to our speculation. However, please take it as an indicative syllabus. Okay. Don't confine yourself to it. So by that I mean that in vocabulary, don't just think that only analogy questions are going to come, nothing else can come. This is just indicative in nature. Keep that in mind. Okay. All right. So I hope you've been enjoying the session and let's talk about your important areas, how you have to plan, right? So important areas, those who've prepared for CET with me, they would understand this, that the important areas are the same as those in CET. Yes. SPGen accepts it for one particular course, right? They have this course meant for women entrepreneurs. Okay, for that course they are accepting it, and this was the case the last time I checked. They don't accept it for their main MBA exam, right? Okay, and yes, in case you need any information about the NMAT exam, about MBA using NMAT, right? So you have this website, mba.com. Okay, it's called mba.com only. It's very simple. So you can just go there directly and they talk to you about everything. Okay, why should you take NMAT? What is the advantage? Okay, all those things are mentioned there. And yes, they also talk about the top colleges that are accepting NMAT, right? Okay, just a second. Coming back. Yes. So, important areas, as I said, reading comprehension, grammar, parajumbles particularly, right? Okay, and vocabulary. So, these are the areas. I have covered sentence, basically, I have included sentence completion in grammar here when I'm writing it like this, right? So, if I have these areas, and sentence completion could mean fill in the blanks also. That means for your prepositions can be in the form of fill in the blanks as well. So if I have to prepare for these broad four areas, those of you who have prepared for other non-CAT exams, this is not new for you, right? You know that we need separate preparation for these areas. Just the CAT preparation that we are doing for, let's say, reading comprehension or for, let's say, sequence parajumbles is not going to suffice here. We need extra prep, right? So what can you do in these 2 months in case you decide to take your first attempt in October end, right? Let's have a look at that. RC passages. See, I understand that apart from NMAT, you must be taking some other exams also, and for those also you must be practicing RC passages. That is why I haven't really kept the number of RCs at a very high. I haven't kept the number very high here. One RC every alternate day, that means 3 RCs per week. 3 RCs per week. Yes. So in 8 weeks, that will be 24 RCs. Now you must be thinking 24 is a little less, but this is what you're practicing outside your mocks. You'll be taking mocks also, right? So in the mocks also, you'll be exposed to at least 2 RCs every exam, every mock, right? So let's say you choose to take 5 to 6 mocks minimum that is required. 10 there, 24 here, this becomes 34. Of course, apart from this, I am saying that this is the scenario when you're practicing for some other exam also. So let's say you're practicing for CAT also. So I'm assuming that for CAT also you are practicing 2 RCs every day, right? So that will again, what will it amount to? 120 RCs from there, 34 from here. So approximately when you take NMAT, you would have attempted 150 RCs. Okay, that's actually a lot of RCs considering that the exam is going to ask you 2 or at the most 3, right? So 1 RC every alternate day, but why am I So what is my reason behind making you practice separately for NMAT in case you're already practicing for CAT? My reason is that the time that is given to you is relatively less in NMAT. So you have approximately 45 seconds per question, even for an RC question, whereas CAT on the other hand gives you approximately 1 minute at least per question, right? So that is why, my aim is 1 minute per question, and that too excluding the reading time for CAT, right? So 7.5 minutes for an RC in CAT. Let me just clarify this. That is what you for an RC in CAT, and that has 4 questions. Okay, but this includes your reading time also. So 45 seconds here are including your reading time. Okay, 45 seconds including your reading time, whereas here you get much more when I include your reading time also. So that's why you need to practice RC separately for NMAT. Okay, and this can be done from where? That must be your natural question. So any ideas from where should we practice this? So yes, Om, that's why we've kept a separate session on this, because it is quite different from the other exams. It is adaptive. So it's more on the lines of the international exam GMAT. GMAT is also adaptive in nature. And the worst part is, the actually bad part about NMAT is you can't leave any question. You have to attempt every question before going to the next question. Right. Moreover, you can't really decide whether you are going to attempt grammar first, vocabulary first. You have to deal with the question that comes in front of your screen. It could be RC, it could be vocab, etc. Right. So these constraints come in with an adaptive exam. However, the good part is that, okay, there is differential marking if you are rewarded for performing better, right? So that is there. So yes, sources, anybody? What source should I practice these RCs from? NMAT official guide. Absolutely correct, Kashish. So see, for your CAT RCs, you have your own sources, right? There we have sources like CAT previous year papers. We have sources like even I told you that ZAT papers would help you. GMAT papers would, GMAT RCs, ZAT RCs would help you. For NMAT, you have a dedicated source, make use of it. Okay, buy the NMAT official guide and practice RCs from there. Okay, they stated that we have NMAT level questions. So if they've explicitly stated it, why not utilize it? Right? So for these 24, 25 RCs that you'll be practicing, practice them from the official. Okay. Now, what about grammar? So, and when you practice RCs, please always keep the time constraint in mind, reminding you this again. Okay? Otherwise, the genres, they are more or less similar to CAT. Okay, you will be exposed to diverse genres, difficulty level. So what I have observed is that sometimes they go for a balance. If the language is difficult, the questions will be easier. If the language is easy, the questions will be relatively trickier, right? And what we can do as an exam strategy. So when I am exposed to RC passages, if let's say this happens to be my very first questions, although last year this happened with very few questions, that the first 4 or 5 questions were RC questions, then I have to be careful. Then I have to attempt the entire passage carefully because my first few questions matter. If, however, this is towards the end, if the RC passages appear towards the end, then and they are together also, so then I read the few sentences, right, and I get to know that the language is easy. So I give that passage a sincere shot, and towards the end, towards the last few questions, if I am short of time, then I can mark a couple of questions randomly. Towards the end, I can afford to take that risk. Okay, so the strategy here will be very niche for every student depending on what he or she gets on his or her screen, right? So hope you are understanding what I'm saying. No negative marking, there is differential marking. Okay. All right. For grammar. So students keep asking me what are the important topics for grammar. See, grammar is one such area where, they don't ask you that, okay, this question, sorry. So they don't tell you that, okay, this question, it has a tense error. Identify the tense error. So plus one question can have multiple errors also. So it's actually difficult to narrow down to 1 or 2 topics, or let's say 3 or 4 topics that are important for you. When I say this, these are all the major grammar topics. That's why I wrote them down. So parts of speech includes all your 8 parts of speech. So nouns, you should know when to use singular, when to use plural, when to use countable, what will come with countable, what will come with uncountable. Okay, so similarly for all the 8 parts of speech. Subject verb agreement is one such area which happens to be popular with examiners. So I have seen questions on subject verb agreement in almost every non-CAT exam. So that's why I've written this separately. Modifiers and parallelism I've written because they are new for you. You haven't done these in your junior classes, right? So they are new topics for you. Okay, so these will be the important grammar topics and how you can actually populate your calendar. You can attempt 10 to 15 grammar questions every alternate day. If it suits you, you can sit at one stretch and do 45-50 questions at one stretch. But I think spacing it out helps me better. Okay, and I think it helps students also better because they can track their incremental improvement. Right, attempting 45 questions in one go will lead to a lot of fatigue also. So 10 to 15 grammar questions every alternate day with a particular focus on error identification and preposition because they've specifically mentioned that on their website. So for this, yes, OG official guide will help you. Secondly, for prepositions particularly, I would advise you go through the chapter on prepositions from Wren and Martin and attempt the questions that are given at the back of this chapter, right? So they are mostly fill in the blanks. In fact, all of them are fill in the blanks only. And you can actually get its answer key also, right? The answer key for these is also available separately, right? So for prepositions, this can be done, particularly special practice for preposition. For error spotting, sentence correction, those who are preparing for various non-CAT exams, you have plenty of sources apart from the official guide also. You have all the non-CAT previous year papers. Non-CAT previous year papers, make use of those. Right? So this is what you can do for grammar. RC passages, no, they are not very lengthy, Rehan. So last year, what I saw was 500 words. I saw 500 word RCs. So not lengthy, right? In CAT also you get 500 to 500. Actually no. CET is very unpredictable, whereas NMAT is pretty standardized. That's one major difference there. Secondly, sometimes CET can ask you extremely difficult questions. NMAT, on the other hand, what I would say, it's English. If the level of its language skills is concerned, it is moderate. Okay, I haven't seen it going extremely difficult. Also, they try to keep it pretty standardized across slots. So when you have that constraint, you anyway can't fluctuate like that as CET does. So if you ask me what is CET's level, it is easy to difficult. It's such a broad range. But for NMAT, I can say yes, it remains moderate, sometimes on the easier side also for some slots, but then normalization and all happens. Right? Okay. Now coming to this was about grammar. Hope this is clear. Now coming to parajumbles, what you have to do. The good thing is you've been practicing parajumbles for CAT. Yes. So see, parajumbles are parajumbles whether they're MCQ or non-MCQ. Just that MCQ parajumbles are easier. Here you'll get MCQ parajumbles. So they'll be easier because you have options as compared to what you get in CAT. So first thing is that you make use of your CAT parajumble practice, right? So whatever you are practicing there will come in handy, will complement here as well, right? Apart from that, practice MCQ parajumbles also. It will benefit you for all the non-CAT exams. Don't think of it as an NMAT special only, but it will benefit you for all your non-CAT exams. Let's say you sat with 5 every alternate day along with grammar, right? So that amounts to 15 per week. And remember that apart from these, you will be taking mocks also, right? So you will be practicing some there as well. You will probably be taking mocks of some other tests also. So you'll be practicing some there as well, right? But the important thing to keep in mind is 45 seconds, right? So probably one question might take you 1 minute, okay, but then you have to balance it out overall, right? So keep the time constraint in mind whenever you solve a parajumble question. The good thing is that there are options, so make use of options. When you do that, trust me, they are solvable, right? Okay. So we've covered 3 broad areas and we're left with the last one, right? So in vocabulary, unfortunately, I can't give an important topic as such, right? Of course, analysis is something that they've mentioned separately, so we will focus more on that. That is there. But the good thing here is that NMAT official guide also gives you a high frequency word list. NMAT, and it's called NMAT high frequency word list, right? So go for this. Go for this, and we'll hope that analogy questions come from here. Again, practice 5 analogy questions. So basically what you're doing every alternate day is you're solving one RC, you're solving 10 to 15 grammar questions, right? You're solving 5 PJs and you're solving 5 analogy questions. That's what you are doing, right? So in effect, you are solving what? 25 plus, let's call it 5, 30 odd questions. Okay, every alternate day. That's what you are doing. So in a way, although it's not the same, in a way it amounts to taking one sectional every alternate day till your exam, right? It amounts to that. However, of course, you'll do this with breaks. Okay, you'll analyze these, you'll focus on your mistakes separately here, right? So it will be a much more relaxed process for you rather than taking one sectional every alternate day. But trust me, you do require this kind of practice because grammar is something that you may not have done for CAT so far. Okay, analogy or vocabulary is again something that you may not have done for CAT so far. So you do need this separate practice, right? And yes, play vocabulary quizzes. I'm a big fan of vocabulary quizzes, right? So whichever app you feel is right for you to play these quizzes, play those. And along with this list and a good pool added through these quizzes, I think you'll amass a sufficient vocabulary in the next 2 months, right? Okay, so this is about these major areas: RCs, parajumbles, grammar, vocabulary. Yes. What is the next most important part? Yes, tell me. Taking mocks, why is it important? I am preparing for CAT also. I am taking mocks for those also. So NMAT, why do I have to, take NMAT mocks separately? Yes, because CAT will not give you that kind of experience as NMAT does. NMAT is an adaptive exam. You don't have the luxury to prioritize. You don't have the luxury to skip. Okay, and you have to just attempt whatever comes your way. And you have to try that you get the first few questions correct so that you reach a higher score range in the very beginning, right? So it's very different from CAT. You need separate practice, and I would say at least, this is at least, remember, 5 to 6 marks for NMAT are required. Okay, so take them, and the rest of the drill remains the same. Of course, you have to analyze them just like you analyze your CAT mocks also. Analyze them and evolve a strategy for yourself. The strategy should keep in mind that the exam is adaptive. Okay, so you'll have to have a very balanced practice for NMAT because you can't decide I'll not attempt this area, right? And yes, I haven't written this separately. When you analyze your mocks, again try to see again here the separate score for each question will not be visible to you, right? It will not be available to you. So try to gauge for yourself which question was easy, but I ended up spending a lot more time there, right, than was needed. I ended up getting it wrong. So this should be your criteria: easy, difficult, time, and accuracy. Easy, okay, got correct, but a lot of time, no. Easy, got wrong and a lot of time, absolutely. This is the worst case scenario, right? Easy, got correct, took less time, great, the best scenario. Okay, got incorrect, but I decided it I decided the answer a bit too soon, right? So these are the areas that need improvement. Okay, this area, these need much more improvement. So time, accuracy, and level of difficulty, these three criteria should be kept in mind whenever you analyze your mocks, be it for any entrance test, right? So yes, I think this is about it. This is how you should plan your days coming ahead. Okay, in case you plan to take it in October end, even if you plan to take it after CAT right away, after CAT, then you have relatively more time, but your preparation strategy remains the same. Okay, you need to practice RC separately. You need to practice grammar questions which you may not have done so far, and you need to go for MCQ parajumbles. Right. The parajumbles differ here from the type in the answer parajumbles. They're not the same, right? Any questions that you have about your preparation or about the exam strategy, please ask. So I think that a student preparing for management entrance test should give CAT a sincere shot. Okay, and see, right now we are in September, right? So we have 3 months. Okay, I mean 86 days to be precise. 86 days are left for CAT, because you have prepared a fair bit for MHCET also. I know this. So you will be aided with from that preparation. You will be aided from that preparation in your CAT also. The level of questions, however, can sometimes be higher in CAT, right? So the level of difficulty will vary. And in CAT, as far as BARC is concerned, it's intensively focused on RC passages. So if you very diligently practice RC passages of CAT level in the coming months, okay, and for verbal logic, you pay, let's say, sit twice a week with para summary and para jumbles, then I can assure you, at least for BARC, it's pretty crackable, so to say, right? You can crack it. So I think yes, you can give it a shot. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions that you have? So this is it from my end about NMAT, and we will be having a lot more sessions for NMAT this month, in the coming months, right? So stay tuned, and I meet you at 12 p.m. from Tuesday to Saturday, right? I hope you enjoyed the session. You learned new things. You will implement those things. If yes, then please press the like button. And this is our comprehensive program for 2022, for the year 2022. We prepare you for various management entrance exams through this, and there's a lot of practice material, lot of expert guidance that is available in it, right? Okay. Now you can stay connected with us via these two social media platforms and this Telegram channel, right? So stay connected, stay tuned. I'll see you in the next session. Bye, welcome, see you.